Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, hey, folks, if you do jump on board, Chasing the Truth is live for the first time on my own channel, other than over on darkwaters.com. So just testing equipment out. Let me know if, let's see, it's just me viewing this thing, looks like. And they jumped on and jumped off. All right. Tighten Up was just here. Hey, Tighten Up. Let's see what we got up. Hey, can you hear me, buddy? We were watching you on the other channel. We were. Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Hey, Spike. Hey, Fear the Great White. Thanks. I'm just, actually what I did is I had an old Mac that I revived and put some stuff on here that I can do this. I just switched my gear over to this Mac here. So that's what I'm doing. If you, Saturday night, last night, I guess, I told you I was going to try to do some streaming over here on this channel and see what's happening. $22. So yeah. So is my wrist. Well, this is interesting to do this. This is a whole lot easier than having to click 4 or 5 different times to get up on 3 different platforms. What's on the 27th? There, Spike. All right. Let's see what I got going on here. Last night I just did an open lines thing. I don't have, well, I guess I could. But right now I don't have my ability to take calls right now. I'm just testing out the live equipment here. So I can do this. I'll transfer a whole lot of other stuff here in a little bit. That has to do, try to copy what I've got going on with the Dark Waters channel. Deep sea fishing. Oh, okay. That's cool. Absolutely cool, man. Never been deep sea fishing. I've been to the ocean. I couldn't tell you how many times in Panama City Beach. Beautiful place. Nice white sand and the whole shebang. But I haven't been down there in about a decade, if not longer. I heard a good Dogman story the other day, but with World Bigfoot Radio, I think where is that World Bigfoot Radio Tighten Up? I have not heard of it. I have not heard of World Bigfoot Radio. I've got a few other blogs and stuff. I haven't even cracked open my laptop. I've just been messing around with this old Mac I've got. And finally figured out how to set up the OBS Studio on here. On YouTube. I'll have to look it up. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and just crack open my laptop here and see what's going on. Well, what I plan on doing is doing a couple of streams maybe throughout the week. I just decided to put this stuff together today, see if it'd work. And hello, neighbor. It worked. Duke is a field researcher. Sort of like DDoS. and his gang over on Bigfoot Dogman Research. Let's see. Now I know this actually works. I can probably set up a few other things over here to get this going. Hey, Penny. Nice to see you back. What I'm doing today, Penny, and everybody else that's joining in, if you like, share, and subscribe to this channel, which I'm going to be doing a few other things on this channel, more or less just get the bugs worked out of the system for this old MacBook. Not a MacBook, old Mac Mini's what I got. What I have. Had this sucker in storage for 4 years since my my amputation, and just recently got some junk out of there. So Dee's first encounter was in the 70s. I have been looking for where I live on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. I'm on a Virginia, or not Kentucky and Tennessee, Kentucky and Virginia. I have been looking. Not aggressively, but I've been looking for a forestry guy that retired that had a ton of Bigfoot sightings and encounters by himself and with his wife, and I have not got it. Hey, thank you, Penny, for subscribing. But there's a bunch of Bigfoot sightings that I do see in local newspapers. Been trying to keep up with this one family that lives over in Whitesburg, Kentucky, that has a YouTube channel, The Hillbillies. But he's hit and miss. They're hit and miss about posting anything about Bigfoot encounters over there. Well, Fear the Great White, thanks for dropping by. Like I said, I'm just testing the equipment. It looks like it's doing just fine. I just don't have all the bells and whistles I've got over on my MacBook set up for Dark Waters channel that I do over here. I just got the straight up microphone, and that's it. Have a good one there, Great White. So, let's see what's going on in the news today. Well, Dow futures plunge more than 900 drop at tomorrow's opening, according to CNBC. But I just don't trust CNBC for nothing. I think they just have a bunch. They just, more or less, CNBC and the rest of those MSM critters and news reporters just literally bug me to no end. They just do provocative headlines, and it's all opinionated. It's nothing. If they could just do news and report the news and try to keep their opinions out of it, just say, hey, this happened today. Make up your own mind. I would be happy. Why won't the Wendigo eat a clown? They're scared of them. I know about 2 or 3 years ago they had that big clown scare that everybody was afraid of a freaking clown. I was like, well, if they come over around in this general area, which they didn't, there might have been some buckshot or some rock salt that was thrown their way. Yeah, well, I'm a big news junkie, but what I have is I've got a RSS feed aggregator, and I watch about 200 news sources, and I know most of them I don't pay attention to. I've got it to alert me when keywords pop up, and I've got a list of about 100 keywords that I want to see if it pops up in the news, and then if it's on multiple resources, like 4 or 5 different websites, news resource websites, I look at each one of them, see what the common thread of each one of them are, then try to find where the news or article started. So, nope, clowns taste funny. Okay, that's great, man. But yeah, that's all I'm doing right now is, well, I proved to myself I've got this equipment up and ready. I could probably pop in my Skype onto this thing. Not like I do on the MacBook, but I could probably pop in Skype via the board here and see if it does that. But I may do that a little bit later, or what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to do random. Well, I don't know random. I'll probably schedule a couple 3 feeds for the week during the week, and then go from there. See how it goes. I may do 30 minutes, may do an hour or 2 hours or whatever, but we'll see. Yeah, that virus is getting really uppity, is all I can tell you. Italy has, more or less, they've quarantined millions of people in Italy, which I know why they're doing it. They just don't want this crap to get out. The worst case scenario, it blows through like the flu. Hopefully, it is not as bad as flu, but if it is as bad as some of the MSM whatevers say it's going to be, and I hope it's not. I pray it's not. Biggest thing is just do the basics. Like I said last night, wash your hands, scrub your fingernails, and if you want to go the route of getting a little preparation with storable foods or whatever, there you go for it. If you hear a little squeaking in the background, that's my wheelchair. I need to oil that sucker up. Let's see. Italy has fallen. ICU bed rationing. New York told to get ready for the coming apocalypse, according to New York's mayor. New York's mayor, I think, is. I'm not a big fan of Democrat-controlled cities, just because of how they run their cities and literal shit in the streets they've got. I'm like, not that I didn't enjoy last time I was in New York City. I did. It was on Christmas Day about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. WD-40, yeah. Actually, I do have WD-40 and a couple other things. I may do that after I get done with this impromptu stream. Have you guys seen any good reports on anything paranormal? Or any good reports on anything? Doesn't have to be paranormal or UFOs or anything like that. '18 was that Spanish flu that hit the world and literally took out millions of people. Millions. If you go in the United States alone, and if you go into old cemeteries that have headstones that are from around that era, you will find a lot of headstones with children from 1918 that passed because of the Spanish flu. That's one of the things I did years ago. Was I visited a lot of graveyards for, I guess I was trying to do some paranormal research, if you call what I was doing paranormal research. But after that, I kind of lost interest in it. But seeing the gravestones, headstones of a bunch of kids from 1918, prompted me to. I actually had a good friend back then. He was a pulmonologist, and we were talking one day, and I said I went and visited a couple of graveyards, and found a lot of kids in 1918. Sean, I think it's telling that the U.S. Navy and Air Force are now disclosing their UFO footage. Well, I've got a friend. Let's see his name's Tim. He has the UFO Seekers channel, and I think if I get his gist right, he thinks that all this is just misinformation and a way to make money from the perspective of these folks that are, putting out all this information. You look at it like that. Yeah, I could see the argument for that. It looks like a magnitude 4 Himalaya, Halmahera, Indonesia earthquake just struck, according to my alerts on this browser. I'm going to have to fix those alerts, though. But I have seen my own UFO, that was for sure. Seen a couple, 3, but one good one, and I have video footage of that. If you can call it video footage. It's off of iPhone 4, and the daggum thing didn't pick up nothing but black until the last couple of frames. And then you saw the actual light. It looks, if you look at it, if you know what a TR3B is, that's what it looked like. The 3 lights on the tips of the triangle with a red light in the middle. And the one telling thing about my encounter with that UFO, or whatever you want to call it, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, or whatever the hell PC thing is, for those things are, the strobing red light I look for in all the media that says, hey, here's a TR3B. So the stream pretty solid. No patchy fallouts or anything in the audio. Sorry about that. It's about your grandfather dying in 68 from TB there, Penny. Or as a respiratory therapist, that was one of my things that I had to deal with, was with active TB patients. And that's one of the things that I'm so knowledgeable about these N95 masks, because we use those on a frequent basis, especially when TB patients started popping up that was active. And to tell you the truth, I didn't have any kind of respiratory ailments myself. And to wear an N95 mask more than 15 minutes was a struggle for me, just because of how hard it is to breathe through one of those masks. Let's see. My late brother and I, there's a mountain chain here in Southwest Virginia, and it's called High Knob. We were going up to High Knob, and we spent most of the night there. And this is a UFO story, by the way. He and I were doing Jack Daniels and Coke that night. And we were just sitting on the, more or less sitting on the tailgate and telling stories, and we were up there, and we had seen one of those, there's FBI or ABC institution stuff out there on this mountain, just because of line of sight, just because it's the peak of the mountain with all this stuff. And we saw these 3 lights, orbs or whatever, come out of the clouds and hover around the top of this tower. And maybe 4 lights, 3 or 4 lights. It's been a long time ago when we did this. We were young men at the time, and sat there and watched it. And my brother was like, "Man, I don't know what that is." And I said, "Man, that's a UFO." And he said, "Well, over top of a frickin' tower." And I was like, "Sure." And the thing would spin around clockwise, and then shoot up into the clouds, and then come back down and do the same thing. And then back up. And I always remember that. But that led to another story that a buddy of mine, when I first got in the hospital, what was his name? I'm not going to share his name, because he was a military guy over the motor pool for the region. Did I have some Maiden on too? I don't think we listened to Maiden back then. It was probably some country music that my brother liked and I didn't. At that time, I was big into Def Leppard. So, tighten up. Let's see. Coca-Cola, Spike, my friend. Coca-Cola, not the illegal stuff. Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola. One of the things that when I was growing up, a teenager, a bunch of us got together and we pitched in for a bottle of Jack Daniels. And we all made a pact. I don't even know if that Jack Daniels bottle still exists, but we said we'd just buy it and store it, and then the last two of us that survived would drink a toast and get drunk off that Jack Daniels. I don't even know if that thing still exists or not. I honestly, the one thing that I love and I'm interested in, has been exposed to, is the paranormal and UFOs. All of my life, especially in this old house I live in and working in a hospital. One of the things that in working in a hospital, you get three solid types of individuals concerning paranormal. You got ones that believe and see it all the time. You got ones that on the fence and see it and get converted, and usually go nuts for a little bit. And then you got the ones that they see it, get spooked or scared, and go, something was wrong there. But I worked in an old ICU unit that was converted over to be an EEG lab and a sleep lab at this one hospital I used to work for. And I was doing some work during the day shift, not administrative work at that time. I was doing some, I think I was scoring sleep studies at the time. I went through the night before sleep studies and saw, marked, and said, hey, this is something for the doctor to look at. Let's see. Tighten up. I'll answer your question here just a little bit about that UFO and Hollywood stuff. But to finish up my story, that day that I was working day shift dealing with sleep studies, a physician was in another adjacent room dictating EEG results, and the sleep lab rooms themselves wound up. Had TVs in them. And I was on the opposite end of where the doctor in the room that I'm ready to tell a story about was. And in that room, that TV popped on and switched over to one of those televangelist TV channels. And then the volume went straight up. And it's done that many times before. And I don't know why it went to these televangelist TV channels. But he pops out of this room, this physician, neurologist, pops out of this room and said, Sean, did you do that? And I was like, nope. Man, how can I do that? That's around the corner and through a door. How in the hell could I point a frickin' remote control and angle it to turn that damn TV on? He looked at me and shook his head. Well, turn the damn thing off. And I said, all right. So I walked in, tried to turn it off with a remote control. I had to climb up and unplug the TV's power source right from the wall, right from the electric. But many things happened in that old ICU unit and throughout that particular hospital and other hospitals I'd been in. And some of them kept secret, some of them I've actually told stories about. But let's see. Let's reread what Tighten Up said. Sean, do you think Hollywood shows us things that are based in truth that they pass it off on as sci-fi? Yes and no. I think that some people, especially if you're a believer in the actual moonwalking or not, there are some people out there that actually believe that has never been anybody on the face of the moon whatsoever. And there's, obviously a lot of people do believe in that. But there is a handful that actually believe that, like, the first Apollo missions that went out were faked. But subsequent Apollo missions actually made it to the moon. But the first ones were faked by Hollywood, and then, all this craziness. You got these 3D movies, and, when I was a boy, we got, well, crap, I don't want to know that. This old Mac is spitting out some, hey, we need you to sign into this and sign into that, and it ain't been signed into since 2014. So I have no clue how to sign in on it. All I can say is I got into it. But long story short, tighten up, yeah, I do believe some of the sci-fi is based off of actual, real stuff that's happening. So. My sister, she's actually at her daughter's house right now. She went Friday afternoon. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday afternoon, and she's all worried about a little spittle of snow. And I said, sis, all you got to do is worry about all the people on the road, and not you. I know you can drive, just watch out for the other people. Even if it does snow enough to get on the roads, I don't think it's going to stay there, and it didn't. But the crap that happened in my house, as of a week before last, I talked to my sister about it, and everything was calm. Now, to sit there and watch my little grandnephew in such a frightful state, you had to do something. And well, I don't know. But this old place has been haunted since the first time I walked in here when I was 17 years old. And I'm 50 now. So, crap, I can remember seeing something. My grandparents bought this house, and they used to own the adjacent property and had a little trailer set up on the adjacent property. And for however they made the deal with the old owner, they kind of switched properties and some change exchanged in hands. So, gets the salt. But I remember this little old lady. She died well into her hundreds. She was 100 and something when she passed away. But after she passed away, I remember seeing her or seeing something standing up in the second floor window before we actually owned this property. So, but this old place, I have had so many different experiences. There was a EVP I caught while my brother was still living. And I had set up I've still got a bunch of security cameras around my house, but I set up a bunch of security cameras. And I didn't find this out until after my brother had passed, a couple months after he passed, and found it. And I was just looking through and seeing if I could find some, old movies or something, something to catch my brother and say, hey, there's my brother. You know how you look through old media and try to find something. And the little bit I got off of my security camera spooked the living crap out of me. And I promised I would not share it again. I've shared it on a show or two. But I've actually cleaned it up and made it into an MP3 format or MP3 format, an audio track, and up the volume and gain and stuff to where you can make out most of the message. And it's the cleanest EVP I have heard. There was three of us in the living room at the time. Three male voices and one female voice. But the first male voice, nobody knows who the hell that was. I have never heard that voice before in my life. But I promised I would not share it again out of respect to that, so I can't share it. So, Ever wonder why you use salt shells in Supernatural and Iron, Buckshot, and Ghosts and Demons? Well, I've talked to a couple people that have delved into witchcraft, and one had a sister that was into the black arts and the witch's salt, where they take ground from cemeteries. Why they do this, I don't know. I just don't. It just creeps the living crap out of me. But and mix it up with other salt and do whatever rituals to do whatever it is to cleanse from perspective of witchcraft. Which I'm not a big fan of witchcraft, but hey, that's I don't judge them. And it's not my place to judge at all. But I have friends that are Wiccan for sure. And a lot of other people that are not Christian as I am. But, one of the things that is, I woke up from my near-death experience and, hey, I just want to see the world through other people's eyes for some odd reason. I can't explain it, but I woke up like that. Let's see. Concerning the virus details, blacked out coronavirus news. Wow, COVID-19. I'll have to watch that a little bit later. There are certainly a lot of people out there that think or know or have expressed that China's not telling the truth. Of course China's not telling the truth. Shit. Excuse my French. You can't expect China to tell the truth. They're not going to give themselves a black eye. Everything that comes out of that country has checked off, been filtered through, or at least as much as they can possibly filter it through. Yeah, every little thing. They arrest you if you violate their socialist laws about this media sharing stuff. So. Tighten up. Sean, I do. I love them all the same. Yep, I love everybody. Everybody's got their place here. And my point of view is God gave us free will to do what we want to do. And if that takes you in one route or the other, however it is, you at the end of your life, for the folks that don't believe that afterlife happens, fine and dandy. That's what you believe. You'll figure it out afterwards. But God gave us free will for a reason, and He doesn't violate that free will. That's the one thing that I absolutely utmost believe in. You can't change my mind on. But there's a place for everybody in this world, for whatever reason. But I do believe that we are in the I don't know what part of the end of days that we're in. It's not my place to say, hey, it's here. Or we're right at the edge. But the end of days, we're in them. I just don't understand. I don't, not understand. I understand that we are. But I just can't say when it's going to happen. That's not my privy. So. But let's see. I do have my MacBook open, and I've got my news feeds over here. I'm seeing what Market Massacre oil crashes 30%, Dow down 1,000 points, according to Zero Hedge. Holy cow! They say that if oil slips below $50 a barrel, and I think I saw it from get below that middle of last week. I think it's like $48 a barrel, that it's not worth it to them to produce it. So obviously we're going to see supply and demand take effect there. They're going to reduce the supply. OPEC or whatever that entity is that controls the Arabs oil, but who knows. This virus actually does have so many fingers in everyday life that this particular scare is going to cause. It's going to cause markets to fluctuate, spiral down, and hopefully won't spiral down that much. Supply and demand of everyday products like food, paper towel, toilet tissue, the whole shebang. I think there's going to be panic buying in certain regions of the United States and world that it's going to stress out a whole lot of stuff. So, skinwalker stuff is nasty, bad witchcraft. Now, if you remember the story I told about the elder from Indian tribe over in Arizona, he said that his tribe did rituals every day to protect his tribe and his where they lived from these evil spirits daily. And I'm like, okay, why in the world would you live in a spot that you had to had to do these rituals on a daily basis? But hey, that's not me. And now that I think about it, I pray about this house all the time, so I don't have much room to complain about that. So I do a lot of prayers to protect people that come and go out of my house, just because of the history that I know that has happened in here with ghostly or whatever you want to call them, paranormal junk that's happened. So. Lord meant by do not touch the oil and the wine. I have not really contemplated that. Tighten up. Honestly, I can't give you a good answer. I'll look that up and then pray about that one. Honestly, I have not thought. I don't have an answer for that one. Spike, I don't think that's what he meant. To me, the Bible obviously, is the Word of God, and also gives us a way to contemplate and see how other people have dealt with God's will in one way or the other. What happens if you deal with God's will the way God allows it or wants us to do? And if you do against God's will, what happens after that? And gives us so many stories, and hopefully we make sense out of those stories to copy and paste that into our lives. Let me look that up real quick. Let's see. Do not touch the oil and the wine. Let me look it up. Do not in the wine. Revelation 6:6. Let's see. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among 4 living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day wages, and 6 pounds of barley, and for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. I'll have to reread that particular thing there, man. Do not hurt thou the oil and the wine. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy and paste this. I've got a friend of mine that studied seminary and almost became a priest, and I'll ask him what his thoughts are on it. I think I have some thoughts, but I'm going to have to take some time to think about that one, buddy. Meth butting. Yeah, I've seen meth butting over on IamDarkWaters.com's website in that chat room over there. Yeah, how did the Meth Bunny get that name? No leave while drunk. I don't know. I kind of doubt that's what that meant, man. I really doubt that's what it meant. But hold on a second. Let me copy and paste that to my buddy real quick and send him a text message. Hold on just a second. I'll send it to him right now. I may get it, but so the one thing I don't have is where I'm a Mac head, so everything I've got is Apple, this, Apple, that. Now, I liked it at first when it first came out, but now that everybody's said, well, we got to figure out how to screw up Macs, that's happening now. So I'm trying to keep some stuff separate. And we'll see if my buddy knows anything about it. If I get the answer from my buddy, I'll read his response, what that meant. They're typing up. So she drink a lot of caffeine there, Spike? That meth buddy? Or bunny? I like when she visits the chat rooms, so I don't have any problems with her. That is an interesting reason that she shows up and has Meth Bunny. High frequency tribe. Yeah, if you get to Meth Bunny, had a friend of mine in one of the local cities that I worked in. That she was a police officer, and her first time that she was in a cruiser by herself, she wrecked a damn thing on the job, and I forgot what there was a so I think it was whatever a wreck translated into whatever code that they jump into. She started being, I think it was 4.0 or something like. I can't remember what it was, but whatever the code was for officer involved in a wreck, that was her new nickname. Oh hell, I ain't seen that gal in 15 years. ADHD, like my kids and husband. ADHD. I did a lot of work with a county over in East Tennessee, Northeast Tennessee, Sullivan County actually, and worked with a group of people that try to redesign school health protocols to identify at-risk students that had these ADHD and diabetes and sleep apnea and all this other stuff. And we got, spent about a year and a half on the project and was about ready to institute and get this in the midst. And I'll tell you one thing that I found out about teachers. I couldn't tell you how many times I was in front of teachers telling them about what was the project that we were working on, get their input. And a lot of teachers says, I don't have time to sit down and figure this out. Just put them on Ritalin and everything works out. And I was like, why would you want to put them on Ritalin and not know the core cause of why they have this attention deficit problem? Well, just put them on Ritalin and I can do my job and that's it. I was like, holy hell. And that's like, you can probably copy and paste that to any other arena with teachers involved, with students that have these attention deficits. They don't care. They just want to get through the day and put them on Ritalin. Now, teachers can't put the students on Ritalin, but they sure as hell can go to impressionable parents and say, your son, your daughter has a attention deficit problem. You need to go to your pediatrician and see if they can get him or her on Ritalin. Now, I know that for a fact. And I knew a pediatrician that was a psychologist pediatrician, the strangest thing. I worked with her for a little while to, get her input on what we need to do. And she was all for what we were trying to do with the county school health program. So I would like to know how many different Bigfoots there are. Hell, I don't know. There are certain people that have actually quantitated and classified Bigfoot, and I'm sure there's about a dozen. I actually had that somewhere. I had a map of it, or a map like a little flyer of the different types of Bigfoot and where they were from and what kind of eye shine they had and what. I'm not exactly sure how come it included hair color. I don't know, but anyway, I do know from what I have. Obviously I've followed BFRO and Bigfoot Dogman Research Project and all these other things and stuff that I've come up with was the Bigfoot from over on the West Coast in Washington State. Were a little rambunctious, a little bit more mean than the ones from around my area that was more docile. But there's some really hardcore Bigfoot people that really get into how many different Bigfoots there are. If you could classify them, I guess you could classify that from skin tone in humans and where they come from, like Chinese and Japanese and Asian type folks, and go from there and see if you can classify it like that. I would think. I don't know. Penny the Bigfoot super soldier, I think, is what my friend D.W. James has been talking about with these chimera dogmen, that they've been test tubed and reconstructed, and they've let them out here and there to see how they go and what they do. So I don't know. Now you can go into, like, over in the Middle East where they've had these military projects happening over there, and there are reports of giants helping the military or fighting against the military. Giants of old kind of stuff. Oh, Puerto Rico just had a 3.0 earthquake. That place has always been rattling. Well, it's been rattling quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 months. But genetically engineered fluffy men. You think, Spike? Would you think that Dogman needs to wear a flea and tick collar, or do they take the pill? But folks, it looks like I've been on here for about 45 minutes, and my goal was to, find out if this thing works. And it does. I'm going to have to mess around with it a little bit and see if I can get some of the programs and copy and paste it over to this Mac Mini of mine from my laptop and get this going. Yes, you need lots of bullets. Now, folks, one of the things about these dogmen and Bigfoot and cryptids, I'm not one that wants to go out and research and find and take a picture of them or have a close encounter with anything like that. But I'm interested like the rest of you folks. And some of you folks that I've come across are hyper interested in it. And I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't know where, when it comes to the interest in these Bigfoot dogmen, especially dogmen and demons and stuff like that. The interest, when does it come in from interest and obsession? Is there a fine line there that you have personally seen? Is there a interest one day and an obsession the next? I don't know. Well, I personally think there's a point where you get obsessed with it, and you allow a lot of stuff. You start glorifying these demonic forces of dogmen and the demons and all that stuff. If you get too obsessed with it, so that being said, folks, I'm going to probably call it a day, and I don't have my sign on sign off music, my intro outro music, because I just don't have that program over here on my Mac Mini. I just want to test drive the hardware software that I just installed. I literally just installed it and plugged all this crap up about 5 minutes before I said, hey, let's try this out. But I'll probably do a stream tomorrow. But I don't know. You'd probably catch me on any time. But who knows? I haven't really come up with it yet. But a set streaming schedule as of yet. But I'm definitely going to be doing a whole lot more streaming over here, and get this channel built up a little bit and see where it goes. I'm still going to keep the Chasing the Truth on Saturday nights on the Dark Waters channel, definitely. So don't think that I'm going to take everything over here. Well, Penny, I appreciate you. Spike, tighten up. Let's see. Who else? If Great White comes back and listens to the rest of this show, or testing show, or whatever you want to call this, thanks for dropping by, folks. But you might see me again later tonight. I don't know. You definitely see me tomorrow sometime. But we'll get it going and try to get this stuff worked out. So appreciate you dropping by. Thanks for allowing me to test out this new setup. So anyway, we'll see you next time I go live. Talk to you later, folks.